So my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible.
So today the topic of my lecture is lymphomas. So like before going into the topic, I would like to discuss some of the basic concepts. Like it's very important to understand lymphoma beforehand. Okay. So first of all, what is difference between lymphoma and leukemia? This should be very clear. So like in the past, lymphoma and leukemias were considered distinct entity and so they were classified like that. But now with better understanding of the disease, now the distinction has become blurred. Like now they are not considered separate entities. So what is leukemia? Leukemia is a neoplasm that is present and they will involve diffuse, there will be diffuse involvement of bone marrow and peripheral blood. So how it differs from lymphoma? Lymphoma is a mass-like lesion. So it's a lymphoid proliferation and it is confined to a particular organ. So most commonly involved organs are lymph nodes and organ. So they will like lymphoma at the time of presentation will not involve peripheral blood or marrow. So that's why we call it lymphoma because it is localized mass. So now like the concept is that lymphoma can undergo leukemic change and leukemia can transform into lymphoma. So they are not different entity. The thing is that the diagnosis depend on the site they are involving at the time of presentation. So coming to lymph node histology, this is a lymph node histology. So you can see this is outer capsule and beneath the capsule it's a subcapsular sinus and there is a trabeculae which separates the lymphoma into different compartment and then the trabeculae becomes a medullary sinus and the sinuses emerge from the hilum as efferent lymphatic vessel. So the parenchyma of the lymph node is divided into two parts, that is cortex, this is cortex, outer cortex and inner medulla. And the cortex is further divided into outer cortex and paracortical zone. So in the outer cortex, you can see these are the lymphoid aggregate and they are known as lymphoid follicle and they comprise predominantly of B cells. So if you see this, this is one of the lymphoid follicle. So there are two kind of lymphoid follicle. One is primary follicle and the second is secondary follicle. So this in the picture. Why we call it secondary follicle? Because there is antigenic stimulation has already happened to the follicle and so now they are having germinal center. So this is one secondary follicle, this is germinal center and it appears pale. They are pale because they comprise proliferating cells. And outermost layer is known as mantle zone. Mantle zone will have resting B cells. So the mantle cells are CD5 positive. And the outermost layer is known as this will be comprising of mature B cells. Okay. And so this germinal center. So in the germinal center, there are cells you should know: centrocyte, centroblast, follicular
Ma'am, your
dendritic cell,
sound
and
is breaking.
macrophages. These are antigen present. Hello,
Ma'am, your
it's
sound is
coming blurred.
breaking.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
now you can hear. Okay, it's now it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so like germinal center, there are four types of cells are present. It's like centrocyte, centroblast, and there will be antigen presenting cells. That is follicular dendritic cell and macrophages. So like lymphoma, what are lymphoma? They actually mimic normal maturation of B cell. Like B cell lymphoma will mimic normal B cell differentiation and T cell will mimic normal T cell differentiation. So like the differentiation starts from there are two type of lymphoid tissue, that is central lymphoid tissue which is bone marrow and the peripheral lymphoid tissue which is like lymphoid organ, lymph node, mild tissue and spleen, liver. So these are peripheral lymphoid tissue. So the maturation starts from bone marrow. So bone marrow, the precursor cell is known as hematopoietic stem cell. So hematopoietic stem cell will either differentiate into myeloid lineage or it will differentiate into lymphoid lineage. So we will be talking about lymphoid cell because we are dealing with lymphomas. So from lymphoblast, this is known as progenitor B cell. So this progenitor B cell are the most precursor cells. So from this, these are lymphoblast. These are also known as lymphoblast. So it will differentiate into pre-B cell, and pre-B cell will differentiate into immature B cell. And after like so the neoplasm which arises from this progenitor cell is known as precursor B cell neoplasm. So this neoplasm arises from the cells in the bone marrow, and the defect is in the differentiation of maturation. So this immature B cell will move to peripheral blood where it is known as naive B cell. So what naive B cell are having immunoglobulin? Can you see two chains? These are light chain, and on the surface they will have IgM and IgD immunoglobulin. Okay. So the fate of so either in the peripheral blood, this naive cell will go to lymphoid follicle. This is a lymphoid follicle, or it can follicle, or it can transform into directly into plasma cell. This all happen when there is an antigen stimulation. Okay, up to naive B cell, there is no antigenic stimulation. When there is antigenic stimulation, this naive B cell will migrate to germinal center. Here it will form centroblast, and centroblast will convert into centrocytes. So centrocyte will then form long-lived plasma cell and memory B cell. So they fight with reinfection. Like once it has been infected, so when there is second reinfection, so like they will act against the antigen and they will kill it. So what is the clinical significance of this germinal center? So in germinal center, a phenomenon known as somatic hypermutation occurs. Okay, different thing, and so you should know what is somatic hypermutation and heavy chain switching. So in germinal center, so this is a naive B cell and they are having B cell receptor. So B cell receptor recognizes the antigen, but there are different kind of antigens. So like B cell receptor should modify itself to recognize the different receptor. But how it happens? So a process called somatic hypermutation will change every time a new antigen will come. There will be mutation. So mutation is happening at a very high rate. So in the this is a B cell receptor. It is comprising of heavy chain and light chain, and this is a variable region. So variable region is the antigen binding site. So this site keeps on changing because of different antigenic stimulation. So this is known as somatic hypermutation. And after somatic hypermutation, there is a class switch, meaning that Ig initially like it will secrete IgM, but like for different antigen it should secrete IgA, IgG. So there is a class switching also. But what happens like there is mutation, and so there will be like so many proliferating B cells. So there will be two kind of mutation, because mutation is happening at very high rate. So it can be favorable or unfavorable, and it will lead to formation of three type of receptor. The one will have higher affinity for antigen, the one will be having lower affinity, and also one will having no affinity. So with lower affinity and no affinity, they will undergo apoptosis, and one with higher affinity for antigen, they will get selected and they will get transformed into memory cell and plasma. So this is the normal, somatic hypermutation, how it works to deal with the antigen. But what happens? Some of the unfavorable mutation get selected and they transform into lymphoma cell. So that is what is the clinical significance of germinal center. So you should always understand the concept of somatic hypermutation and class switching. So when there is aberrant somatic hypermutation, so they deviate from the normal differentiation and they transform into lymphoma cell. So similarly for B cell like it starts from the progenitor T lymphocyte, and B cell differentiation occurs in thymus. In thymus, it can be like CD4, CD8 positive T cell, or it can be negative. So and from there they migrate into peripheral lymphoid organ. So precursor lymphoblastic lymphoma develops from precursor T cells, which can be CD4/8 positive or CD4/8 negative. So now I am coming to lymphoma. So there are so many classifications right from 1942. So and earlier all the classifications were based on morphology and immunohistochemistry. And presently we are using WHO classification. You should know this. We are using WHO classification, and that WHO classification is modification of real classification. Real classification is revised European American lymphoma classification. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Hello? Okay. So what are the salient features of WHO classification? So it integrates both morphology, which we see on lymph node biopsy, phenotype, which we do with IHC, genotype, that is the molecular study of the particular lymphoma, and the clinical correlation. So it takes into account all the four things. And what is the net result of this classification? Patient is able to get a targeted therapy. So this is why the WHO classification is very stringent. So it classifies lymphoid neoplasm into three basic categories. First is B cell neoplasm, T or NK cell neoplasm, and Hodgkin lymphoma. And B cell T cell category is further divided into precursor neoplasm which will develop in the bone marrow, and the mature neoplasm which will develop in the peripheral lymphoid tissue. And this mature tissue is further divided on the site of involvement. Like if it is lymph nodal, it will be lymphoma, and it can be extranodal, it is also lymphoma. But when it disseminates, it is known as leukemic. So it will now be called as a lymphoma with leukemic change. So this is a WHO classification. B-cell lymphoma is classified into precursor and mature. This is a long list of mature. I will be dealing with some of the lymphoma. And T-cell, I will be just giving a brief, we will be discussing predominantly lymphoma, B-cell lymphoma. So what are the techniques which are used to study lymphoma? So what we do tissue diagnosis. So first step in diagnosis of lymphoma is lymph nodal biopsy. We always do a biopsy, core needle biopsy or excisional biopsy. We never do FNAC because FNAC will never give you the diagnosis. So we do core needle biopsy or excisional biopsy from the site of involved organ, like lymph node. If it's lymph node, so from lymph node. If it's the organ like spleen, so not a spleen. Spleen is like difficult to access. So it's like mostly it's lymph node. So there are three things we do. First is immunophenotyping on the biopsy, cytogenetics, and molecular analysis. So combining these three techniques, we give a particular diagnosis to a lymphoma or leukemia. And so for immunophenotyping, we use cluster of differentiation, and this is a system which is used to identify and investigate cell surface which is expressed on the particular cell. Like a stem cell will express CD34. So when we do IHC for CD34, only the stem cells will get highlighted. So with the help of CD cluster of differentiation, we are able to define the lineage of a particular cell. So you should remember, for T cell we have CD3. All T mature T cell express CD3, and B lymphocyte will express CD90 and CD20. So this is immunohistochemistry. Like you can see CD3, it is highlighting all the T cell which is present in the paracortex, and this lymphoid follicle are B cell positive. So these are B cell positive. So immunohistochemistry help to differentiate between the lineages of the lymphoma, whether it's B cell or T cell. And with the help of cytogenetics, we can evaluate translocation, deletion. Like Burkitt will show 814 translocation. And then we also do, in some of the lymphoma, we do molecular analysis. That is, we study gene arrangement, immunoglobulin gene arrangement in B cell and T cell receptor arrangement in T cell malignancy. So these are very subtle changes which is not picked up by cytogenetics. So in that case, we do molecular analysis. So like we will be going through Hodgkin lymphoma first. So Hodgkin lymphoma is named after Thomas Hodgkin in 1830. It is a monoclonal lymphoid B cell. So it is a B cell neoplasm, and it is derived from germinal. And I told you, when there is defect in somatic hypermutation, so the B cells are crippled. In developed country, it has two peaks. First is 15 to 35 years of age, and the second peak is in elderly. But in developing country, it's mostly in the children younger than 10 years of age. So what are the clinical features? So the lymphoma will present as a paleness lymphadenopathy. This is a very common presentation, and the most common involved lymph node is cervical. So they will have these symptoms, like there will be cyclical fever, coming and going fever, there will be night sweat, and they can also present as a mediastinal mass. And splenomegaly is the most important extranodal organ involved in case of lymphoma. So WHO classifies lymphoma into two types: classical Hodgkin lymphoma and nodular lymphocyte predominant lymphoma. And the classical Hodgkin lymphoma is further classified into nodular sclerosis, mixed cellularity, lymphocyte rich, and lymphocyte depleted. So the most common in classical is nodular sclerosis. The most common lymphoma is the most common Hodgkin lymphoma, and it has a very good prognosis. And the poor prognosis is of lymphocyte depletion. So why WHO has classified lymphoma into two types, classical and nodular lymphocyte predominant? Because these two categories have Reed-Sternberg cell. This is the neoplastic cell present in Hodgkin lymphoma. So the Reed-Sternberg cell present in these two type of lymphoma is different. I will discuss later on. So that's why they have classified into two type of lymphoma based on the presence of the morphology of Reed-Sternberg cells. Not only morphology, also immunophenotypic features. So most important association and etiology of Hodgkin lymphoma is Epstein-Barr virus infection. So this is the first step in the pathogenesis of Hodgkin lymphoma. So in 75% of cases of mixed cellularity, they are associated with EBV infection, and in nodular sclerosis, it is up to 10 to 40%. And other type are EBV negative, like lymphocyte rich and depleted. These are EBV negative. And the patient of HIV having lymphoma, having Hodgkin lymphoma, they show EBV positivity 100% of cases. And for diagnosis, we do core-needle biopsy or excisional biopsy of the involved lymph node. So this is a gross picture. You can see these are the lymph node which has become enlarged, and they're mated also. So this is a one group of lymph node, and you can see this is capsulated, and the cut surface is, it's very characteristic. It will be white, firm, and it will show a fist-flesh appearance. So you should know whenever the gross is shown to you. So you should see that the cut surface of the Hodgkin lymphoma is fist-flesh appearance on cut surface. So it is white, firm, and fleshy in appearance. So it is a gross of a splenectomy specimen involved by Hodgkin lymphoma. You can see this is a red pulp, and you can see these white green nodules. So these are Hodgkin deposits. So spleen is the most common extranodal site involved in Hodgkin lymphoma. But primarily Hodgkin lymphoma is a very rare phenomenon. So morphology. So in morphology, there will be two components. One will be neoplastic redistributed cell, and in the background there will be non-neoplastic mixed inflammatory cell. And in Hodgkin fibrosis is also very common. So like the redistributed cell secretes cytokine, which leads to generation of this background non-neoplastic cells. So like they generate numerous cytokines. Some of them are interleukin-5, which is a chemoattractant for eosinophils, tumor growth factor beta, and etc. So definition of redistributed cell, which is a neoplastic cell of lymphoma, is very important, and you should know it thoroughly. So it is a large cell, 15 to 45 micron in diameter. So see, this is a classical redistributed cell. This is 45 micron in diameter, and this is cytoplasm is basophilic. And there are two nuclei, so it is bilobed, and they are mirror image to each other. So this appearance is known as oval-eye appearance. And they will have a nuclei. This is quite large, but they are eosinophilic. So the cytoplasm will be basophilic, and the nuclei will be eosinophilic. So you should note that the nuclei are eosinophilic, and they will have thick nuclear membrane. So this is how we define redistributed cell. And this is neoplastic cell of Hodgkin lymphoma, and in the background the cells are non-neoplastic. So this redistributed type of cell can also be seen in infectious mononucleosis, but in that the nuclei will be basophilic. That is the difference between the two cells. Immunophenotype. So I told you this, these are crippled B cells. So they don't express B cell marker because they have become crippled. They don't have B cell receptor. So these cells, these redistributed cells are positive for CD15 and CD30. CD30 is positive in all cases and 15 in majority of the cases. So you should remember that CD30 and CD15 is a marker to recognize redistributed cell. So why? So there is a second category of Hodgkin lymphoma also, which is known as lymphocyte predominant. So these are not crippled. So they still express B cell marker. So they will express germinal center marker. So they are BCL6 positive and CD45 positive. So lymphocyte predominant is different from classical because these lymphoma expresses B cell marker like CD20, CD45 and BCL. So they are like different. Lymphocyte predominant, they occurs in young patients. Cervical and axillary lymph nodes are commonly involved, and they are not associated with Epstein-Barr virus infection. And so their redistributed cells will be polyp-like or multi-lobated, and they are also known as popcorn cell, or initially it was known as lymphocytic and histocytic redistributed cell. And so why they are different from the RS cell? Because they express B cell marker. They are not CD15 and 30 positive. So there are certain points which differentiate Hodgkin from non-Hodgkin lymphoma. They are like they mostly involve localize a single axial group of node, and they involve multiple peripheral node. It is a continuous involvement of node, and this non-Hodgkin is non-contagious, and mesenteric and Waldeyer are not involved in Hodgkin, while it is involved in non-Hodgkin lymphoma. And but ultimately we distinguish from the tissue biopsy. And bone marrow biopsy is done in the cases, only in the cases in which it's suspected to involve the bone marrow, otherwise not. So this is the Ann Arbor classification of Hodgkin lymphoma. So you should just go through the classification. There are like 4 stages. First and second stage are like, have good prognosis, and 3 and 4 are like late stage and advanced disease, and so they are slightly poor prognosis, but still overall Hodgkin lymphoma has a good prognosis. So what is the pathogenesis? Pathogenesis is that Epstein-Barr virus is the first step in the pathogenesis. The LMP1 present in the Epstein-Barr virus combines with CD21, which is a receptor present on the B cells. So it's all about the, which I discussed earlier, somatic hypermutation. So there will be unfavorable mutation which gets selected and they become RS cells. And this RS cell, what they do, you should remember, there is the Epstein-Barr virus. In conjugation with this RS cell cytokine, they activate NF kappa beta cycle. So these cells, they don't die and they survive because of anti-apoptotic mechanism. So first is Epstein-Barr virus and second is NF kappa beta pathway activation in the pathogenesis of Hodgkin lymphoma. So like the treatment is like in all stages we treat with systemic chemotherapy because radiotherapy has lots of complications, so we generally avoid. So in New Robbins, so they have included cancer immunotherapy. So now they are using PD-L1 as a target because these Hodgkin cells are expressing high amount of PD-L1. So now they are targeting this receptor to deal with the cancer cell. And this receptor is known as programmed cell death. So normally what happened, this Hodgkin cell, they combine with T cell. So the T cell recognizes the Hodgkin cells, but they're not able to destroy it. So when we block this receptor, PD-L1, so the T cell becomes active, and so this immunotherapy has a promising. So it has a promising effect, and it can also be used in the cases which are resistant to radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So this is a new therapy which is coming into light, and this is known as cancer immunotherapy. Now coming to non-Hodgkin lymphoma, first we will discuss precursor B cell lymphoma, B and T cell lymphoma. I will be discussing this both B and T cell together because they share common clinical and morphological feature. So they are the neoplasm which are derived from immature B and T cells, and they are known as lymphoblasts. So and predominantly 85% are B cell because they express B cell lineage marker, and only a certain percentage are T cell. So B cell manifest in childhood, whereas T cell will develop in adolescent male and they present as thymic or mediastinal mass. And the criteria for to call it leukemia, ideally it is lymphoma because it's present as a mass lesion, but we call it leukemia when there is 25%, more than 25% marroblast. So we then call it acute lymphocytic leukemia. So it is you should know that it is the most common cancer in childhood, and it is more common in whites than black, and more frequent in male than girls. Hispanics have the highest incidence. So B cell occurs in the childhood, that is in and around 3 years of age, because most of the precursor cells are abundant at this stage. While T cell is in adolescence because most of the precursor T cell will mature in thymus, which happens in adolescent age. So T cell ALL will present in adolescent. So what is the so most of them shows chromosomal aberration, and so they dysregulate transcription factor, and 70% of TALL will have defect in Notch gene, which is essential for T cell differences. So there will be defective Notch1 gene, and they can also have chromosomal aberration. So you should remember T cell Notch1 abnormality, and in B cell ALL they will have non-random karyotypic abnormalities. And so you should remember there will be hyperdiploidy, more than 50 chromosome per cell, and you should remember this translocation 1221, which is very important, and it is due to translocation of ATV6 gene and RUNX gene. So like most of the B cell ALL will show hyperdiploidy and 1221 translocation, but 25% will also show 922 translocation, which is also seen in CML. So this is translocation involving ABL and BCR gene. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Yes.
Okay. So coming to immunophenotype, that is immunohistochemistry, these all either B cell or T cell, they will be positive for TDT. TDT is terminal deoxynucleotide transferase. It is an enzyme and it is a marker of lymphoblast. And 95% of the cases are positive for TDT. And the B cell ALL will express marker of B cell, that is CD19, and T cell will express CD3. So that this is how we classify B cell and T cell ALL. Clinical feature, it is aggressive disease. and so it causes bone marrow depression. So the symptoms will be accordingly: fatigue, fever, and bleeding due to thrombocytopenia. There will be mass effect due to neoplastic infiltration. There will be bone pain, and so most common presentation in lymphadenopathy is splenomegaly and hepatomegaly. So these all are symptoms of B cell ALL. And the T cell ALL, because it happens to form mediastinal mass and thymus, so the symptoms will be related to airways compression and compression of large vessels in and around the lung. So they can present with superior vena cava syndrome also. So CNS can be involved in both, but it is a late presentation. Prognosis, although it is aggressive neoplasm, but it responds very nicely to aggressive chemotherapy. 95% of the children obtain a remission, and approximately 85% are cured. So what are the worst prognosis? The children younger than 2 years, because it occurs in 3 years, the younger ones will have poor prognosis. The one in adult, if ALL, they happen in adults, so it will have a poor prognosis, and when the blast count is more than 1 lakh. And what are the favorable prognosis? Age between 2 to 10, hyperploidy. So now coming to follicular lymphoma, it is 40%. So 40% of the adult non-Hodgkin lymphoma is follicular lymphoma, and but it is less common in Asian population. Males and females are affected equally, and the most common presentation is generalized lymphadenopathy. So it can involve cervical or retroauricular lymph node. And bone marrow is involved in approximately 80% of the cases. At the time of presentation, there is a bone marrow involvement. And what is the cell of origin? You should always remember the cell of origin for each and every lymphoma. So it arises from germinal center cell. So it will be positive for BCL6, because BCL6, I discussed earlier, is a marker of germinal center. How we diagnose follicular lymphoma? It is we do the biopsy either from lymph node. First we do from lymph node. If bone marrow involvement is suspected, so we do from bone marrow also. Then immunophenotypic and cytogenetics. So this is a morphology of a lymph node involved by follicular lymphoma. So you can see there is a effacement of architecture, and whole of the lymph node is replaced by nodules. So these are nodules of B lymphocytes, but they will not show frequent mitosis or apoptosis, and so we can differentiate from follicular hyperplasia, which is a very important differential. And the cell in the lymphoid follicle are two types. First is centrocytes and centroblast. There are two types of cells. So mostly it's centrocyte, and the few cells are centroblast. So what is centrocytes? These are cells with scant cytoplasm, and they will have cleaved nuclei. So this is very prominent feature. It will have cleaved nuclei, and there will be no nuclei. It will be indistinct. While centroblast will be large, and they will have multiple nuclei, and they will be adherent to the cell nuclear membrane. So whenever there is more of large cell, so it suspects that the lymphoma is going to have an aggressive course. So normally there is more of centrocytes and less of centroblasts. So the cells will express germinal center markers. So it will be B cell positive, CD19 and 10 positive, and germinal center cell will be positive for BCL6, because it is a transcription factor which is present in the germinal center B cell. So what is the cytogenetics? It has a very unique translocation, that is 14-18 translocation. So BCL2 gene, which is present on chromosome 18, and ICH immunoglobulin heavy chain translocation will occur. So they will form a 14-18 translocation combining BCL2 and immunoglobulin H locus. So there will be, what happens after this translocation, there will be overexpression of BCL2. So what is BCL2? So when the cells are having more of BCL2, they will survive for very long time, because it is an anti-apoptotic. So because lymphoma cells are indolent, but they will survive very long. That's why the prognosis is bad even if they are indolent, because they express BCL2, which is an anti-apoptotic marker. So you see, this is a bony trabeculae, because most of the follicular lymphoma involve bone marrow at presentation. So you can see these are the blue cells, which are the lymphoid cells, and so they are typically present in the paratrabecular location. So this is very diagnostic of follicular lymphoma infiltrating the bone marrow. This is the trabeculae, and these are the lymphoma cell which is present along the paratrabeculae. Okay, so you should remember. So the type of infiltration is paratrabecular in a case of follicular lymphoma. So what is the prognosis of this disease? It is not curable. So it is treated with cytotoxic drug and rituximab. Rituximab is anti-CD20. It is directed against the B cell. Other like BTK and BCL2 inhibitors are also used in the treatment. And you should also remember that 30 to 40% of the lymphoma cell can progress to large diffuse large B cell lymphoma, which has poor prognosis. Now coming to mantle cell lymphoma, so I discussed earlier naive B cell. So naive B cell are present in either peripheral blood or in the mantle zone of the lymphoid follicle. So the cell of origin is naive B cell and in the mantle zone, and it comprises 6% of all non-Hodgkin lymphoma. It affects the elderly male around 50 years of age, and the most common presentation is lymphadenopathy, but it can also involve bone marrow, spleen and liver, and GIT involvement is very common. And so it is like moderately aggressive. It is not very aggressive, but it's not indolent also. And the mean survival is 4 to 6 years. So you can see this is germinal center. So this lymphoma arises from this layer. This is mantle zone. So mantle zone contains naive B cell. So the origin of lymphoma is from mantle zone. So follicular lymphoma was from this zone, germinal center zone. On lymph node biopsy also, you can see that this is the mantle zone. This has become expanded. So there will be expansion of mantle zone by lymphoma cell, and there will also be diffuse distortion of lymph node, and the whole of the lymphoid follicle will be replaced by nodules, which will show mantle zone expansion. And the cells, individual cells are like moderately larger than lymphocytes, and they will have moderate amount of cytoplasm. And so this is cyclic D1 immunohistochemistry. So all the cells are proliferating. So they will, there will be 100% expression of cyclin D1. Bone marrow is in, so tumor sometimes can involve GIT, and then it is known as lymphomatoid polyposis. So it presents as polyp or ulcer in the small and large bowel. So why this tumor cell express cyclin D1? Because it depends on the translocation. So this is, you can see this is, there is a translocation between 11 and 14 chromosome. Mantle is like M, so it will be 11 translocation. So the cyclin D1 gene is translocated to IGH locus. So there will be, so you can see this is IGH and cyclin D1 locus. So now the cell can express cyclin D1. So due to this translocation, the tumor cells are very rich in cyclin D1 protein. So when there is excessive of cyclin D1, the cell will progress to G1 to S phase more rapidly. So the cells will be more proliferating. Coming to marginal zone lymphoma, so it is also known as a mild lymphoma. It is predominantly extranodal, and the stomach is the most common site of involvement, and so it develops from the mature B cell. So most common etiology is chronic inflammation, and then after long-standing chronic inflammation, there will be clonal selection. So then the cells, some of the clone of the B cell become neoplastic, and so they develop into marginal zone lymphoma. So what are the conditions which precedes marginal zone lymphoma? It can be like Sjogren syndrome. These are all autoimmune diseases, Hashimoto thyroiditis, and very important is H. pylori gastritis, which happens in the stomach. So normally when you treat with antibiotics, so there is eradication, but in some cases the cell can undergo neoplastic clonal transformation, and so they then develop into marginal zone lymphoma. So basically the trigger is chronic inflammation. In the background there is chronic inflammation, long-standing chronic inflammation, and then there is a clonal selection, and then they are developing into the marginal zone lymphoma, which is the outermost layer of the lymphoid follicle. So the particular histology is lymphoepithelial lesion, which is a very characteristic feature of mild lymphoma. So you can see this is a bronchial, it can also involve lung also. So this is a bronchial epithelium. They are infiltrated by lymphoid cell. So they together comprises lymphoepithelial lesion. Lympho because of lymphoid cell infiltration, epithelial because this is a epithelial, so because it is a epithelial gland, so it is known as lymphoepithelial lesion, which is very characteristic of marginal zone lymphoma. So morphology will be lymphoepithelial lesion, and immunophenotype will be of mature B cell. So they will be CD20 positive. So how to differentiate from mantle? So they will be negative for cyclin D1. And the cytogenetics is 11-18 translocation, which can be picked by either FISH or PCR. Coming to large B cell lymphoma, this is the most aggressive lymphoma, and it is the most common type of lymphoma in adults. So if the question comes, which is the most common aggressive lymphoma in the adult? Non-Hodgkin lymphoma, so it's diffuse large B cell lymphoma. So median age of presentation is elderly, 60 years of age, but it can also occur in childhood in 15% of cases. So they present with a nodal mass, and so So because it is aggressive, so it rapidly involves the extranodal site. So it can involve skin, GIT, CNS. GIT is the most common site in extranodal to get involved, and bone marrow is involved in 27% of the cases. So if you don't treat B cell lymphoma, they will have a very fatal course, and patient usually die within a year. So the treatment is combination chemotherapy with anti-20 immunotherapy. So with aggressive chemotherapy, the most of 80% of the patients will obtain remission. So there are so many subtype of large cell lymphoma, and it depends upon the etiology. So it can be Epstein-Barr virus associated diffuse B cell lymphoma. So it occurs in a setting of AIDS patient developing lymphoma. It can be after post transplantation, like somebody has been transplanted kidney or cardiac transplantation. So they are very prone to develop diffuse large B cell lymphoma, mostly because of Epstein-Barr virus infection. And it can also precede Kaposi sarcoma, herpes virus infection. So the lymphoma is known as primary effusion lymphoma, and it can also present as mediastinal large B cell lymphoma, and it can also present as primary CNS lymphoma, meaning that the lymphoma is originating in the central lymphoid system. So what is the morphology? This is a lymph node biopsy, which is showing the whole of the lymph node is replaced by large cell, which are like, they can be immunoblast or centroblast. Because they are large, so we are calling it blast. It can be immunoblast or centroblast. And so they are very immature cell, that's why they are large. They are having open chromatin, and they will have nucleoli. So nucleoli can be single or multiple, and they will have a brisk mitotic figures with apoptotic body. So these cells are larger than normal lymphocyte. So they are very large actually. They are 3 to 4 times larger than the normal lymphocytes. Immunophenotype will be your B cell marker, but because diffuse large B cell lymphoma also arise from germinal center, so they will express marker of germinal center, that is CD10 and BCL6 in 1/3, not all cases, but in majority of the cases. So what is the cytogenetics? There is a rearrangement of the BCL6 gene because they are arising from germinal center, and 30% will have 14-18 translocation. So there will be overexpression of BCL2, so the cell will be anti-apoptotic. So there will be in diffuse B cell lymphoma, you should remember BCL6 gene upregulation and BCL2 gene upregulation. So when you do immunohistochemistry, they will be positive for BCL6 as well as BCL2. So coming to Burkitt lymphoma. Burkitt lymphoma is a very aggressive non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So among non-Hodgkin, diffuse large B cell lymphoma and Burkitt lymphoma, they are very aggressive. And in majority of the cases, the etiology is Epstein-Barr virus. So they are divided into 2 types on basis of etiology. So it will be endemic type. It occurs mostly in the African subcontinent and affects children, and the sporadic one, which affects children, and it can also affect young adults. And the third type is related to immunodeficiency, like Burkitt lymphoma occurring in HIV patients because they are immunocompromised. So in endemic type, 100% are associated with Epstein-Barr virus, but in a sporadic, only few percentage of cases, like mostly they are negative. So you can see this is a child with mandibular involvement. So in endemic, most common site of involvement is face, and in face it's mandible. So it will present as a mass lesion, and it can also show ulceration. And so the second most, so sporadic will involve, so in the sporadic they present as abdominal mass. So most common site of involvement is ileocecal. So they will present a mass lesion in the ileum and the cecum. So you should remember, in endemic it's face and it's mandible, and in sporadic it's ileocecal, and it will be Epstein-Barr virus negative. So morphology. So morphology is very characteristic. So you can see these are lymph node effaced by lymphoid tissue, and these are this pale appearing macrophages. So the characteristic appearance is described as starry sky appearance. Starry because of blue lymphoid cell, and why it is known as sky because of this lymphoid cell. These are blue, so blue sky, and because of presence of this macrophages, it is known as starry. So there are so many stars embedded in the sky. So these are the lymphoid cell. So because these are very proliferating cell, so what happens when the cells are proliferating, the macrophages come and they engulf the apoptotic lymphoid cells. So there will be numerous macrophages also. They are also known as tingible body macrophages because they have apoptotic cells in their cytoplasm. So what is the immunophenotype? Because it is B cell, so it will express B cell marker, like 1920 positive. And Burkitt lymphoma also originates from germinal center, so it will express BCL6. And because it is comprising of cells which are highly proliferative, so when the MIB labeling index is used to express proliferating index of a tumor cell, so it will be approximately 100%. So they are like all are proliferating. So when you do MIB, we do IHC for that. It is also known as Ki67 index, so it will be 100%. This is IHC MIB labeling. So see, all the cells are being highlighted, and this is a smear. You can see these are Burkitt lymphoma cell. So they are like having basophilic cytoplasm, and they will have lipid vacuole in the cytoplasm. This is very characteristic on the smear. So when you do OLED stain, this is a special stain to detect lipid. So they will highlight this lipid stain. So why cells are very proliferating? Because there is overexpression of MYC gene. So what is the translocation? Translocation is 814. So c-MYC gene is present on chromosome 8 and IGH is present in chromosome 14. So there will be translocation. So c-MYC will get translocated to IGH. So there will be locus, which is fusion product of c-MYC and IGH. So this fusion product can be picked by FISH. So what is FISH? FISH is fluorescent in situ hybridization technique, which is used to detect this translocation. So you can see this is a single signal, and this is a fusion gene product of the c-MYC and IGH locus. So these are single c-MYC gene, this is IGH locus, and when they fuse, they give a different color signal. So this is how we detect translocation, and this Burkitt lymphoma will have c-MYC IGH translocation. This is very characteristic, and 814 is present in 80% of the cases, and remaining 15% can also have other partner of translocation like IgK and IgL. So it can be detected with FISH. So, and now we also know that they are EBV positive. So EBV can be detected by in situ hybridization. So these are the technique we use in pathology to subtype the lymphoma. So these were all about the non-Hodgkin lymphoma and Hodgkin lymphoma. And so I will not discuss in detail T-cell lymphoma because it's beyond your scope. So you should just know, I will just go through one lymphoma, T-cell lymphoma, which is mycosis fungoides. And the syndrome associated with this mycosis fungoides is known as Sézary syndrome. So it arises from peripheral T-cell. The T-cell ALL was derived from precursor B-cell lymphocytes, but this one arises from the peripheral T-cell lymphoma, which is a mature T-cell. And so these are the cells which is present post-thymic, like they are the lymphocyte after they migrate from the thymus. So typically they present with cutaneous lesion. So it can be patch, plaque, or it can also form a tumor-like mass. And mostly they have indolent course, but when they involve the viscera like lymph node, bone marrow, or any visceral organ, so now they are categorized as advanced stage disease. So what is Sézary syndrome? It is a triad. So it is erythroderma, that is skin lesion. There will be generalized lymphadenopathy, like multiple lymph node will be involved in the body. And the one thing is that they will have clonal T cell because it is a neoplasm of T lymph, because it is a lymphoma. So the T cell which is present will be monoclonal. So if you see the peripheral, if you take peripheral smear from T cell lymphoma patient, so you can see this classical cell. This is known as cerebriform cell because of the morphology. It looks like cerebral hemisphere. So this is known as cerebriform cell, and they are a typical lymphocyte with scant cytoplasm and irregular nuclear contour, and they are very hyperchromatic. And these are the skin lesions. It can be patch, plaque, or tumor, and erythroderma. So just to recapitulate, precursor lymphocyte will be T or B. They are known as acute T cell lymphoma or leukemia. So it can be B cell or T cell. They share common morphology. Only the site of involvement is different. In ALL, it is like lymph node and bone marrow, but in TALL, it will be predominantly thymic or mediastinal mass. So they arise from bone marrow. So from bone marrow, the cell came out, that is naive B cell. So which lymphoma arises? It is mantle cell lymphoma. So after antigenic stimulation, the lymphoma which arises from germinal center, DLBCL, Burkitt lymphoma, and follicular lymphoma. So these three lymphoma are non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and they originate from germinal center. So beyond germinal center also there are plasma cell which will be covered by in a different class. It is very vast topic. It is multiple myeloma. So they arise, multiple myeloma arise from plasma cell. So that will be covered in different lectures because it's a quite large topic. And germinal cell, what's happened? Somatic hypermutation and class switching. So it is the main thing which is happening and causing aberrant. So there will be aberrant mutation leading to lymphoma. Any doubts? You can ask any question if you are having any doubts about the lymphoma. Hello? Anyone of you having any doubts, you are most welcome to ask me. Please reply, somebody reply.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Oh no, you are having any doubts because I have finished my lecture.
No, ma'am, no doubts.
Okay, so you are able to understand lymphoma now. Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we will read it also from books.
Yeah.
Now.
Okay. 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 Okay, thank you then.
Ma'am, how will the attendance be taken?
Actually, the one who have attended the lecture. So, so tell me the roll number who are absent. Like, what is the total strength of the class?
Ma'am, 169.
Okay, 169. So how many are present now?
And 142 are present.
Okay, 142 are present. So rest are like absent. So you can do one thing. You can WhatsApp me the roll number who are absent on the group.
Ma'am, there is an option of downloading the attendance if you can, ma'am.
Yeah, that I know. So I will do that. Don't worry about the attendance. So I will download from that. Okay.
So, ma'am, shall I share the students' name who are absent?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. But there is an option I can download who have attended. So from there also I can retrieve the attendance.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. But if you want, you can just send me the roll number who have not attended. I'm meaning the one who are absent.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.